light of, and we had the FEI AGM out here last year, the General Assembly, that the welfare element is drawing critical focus throughout the disciplines in the FEI. So it is an incredibly important topic. And why is that, Sheelagh?
Well, it's important because we deal with an animal that has no voice. And the FEI, for every official who becomes an FEI official, be it a judge, be it a vet, be it a steward, be it a testing technician, you sign their code of conduct. And this code of conduct is that at all times the welfare of the horse is paramount, and that it can never be subordinated to competitive issues or commercial influences. So they're very, very clear that their prime importance is the welfare of the horse, and the veterinary regulations are there for the welfare of the horse. And they deem the welfare of the horse is actually quite interesting. It's what they call general welfare, and that's good horse management, so stable management, training methods, how you train the horse. It must be fit for the level of competition. You can't take a novice horse into a FEI 3-star event or something. The farrier and tack. So it's how you shoe your horse, what tack you use. The disciplines, the individual disciplines have specific tack regulations, but the tack and the FEI I know is trying to make it uniform across the disciplines, that we speak with one mouth. And why, in terms of tack, why should a certain bit be illegal in one discipline because it's deemed to be cruel, but it's allowed in another?
And really, I mean, you and I were sitting in on that discussion. It got very heated, but very, very, very good. And I just want to take this moment to mention that there is an FEI TAC app that you can download on your phone to check what's legal. And
yes, you can. Transport and transit. So, it's to do with what vehicle do you transport your horses in. Then they talk about welfare's also been fitness to compete. So it's not just trotting your horse out and seeing whether it's lame. Is it fit and competent?
Have you conditioned it correctly to do the job?
Yeah. It's health status. That's why we have these vet checks. This is why we have horse examinations. Doping and medication, which is very important, that horses should not compete under having been doped or provided with analgesics, because you can have catastrophic injuries. Surgical procedures, they're not allowed to compete following certain surgical procedures, not allowed to compete after the 4th month of pregnancy, and then the misuse of aids. And, we've taken somebody later complained about cruelty, and there's no time frame on it.
Oh,
and we were actually, successful. It was through the FEI, and it must be that the events must not prejudice the horse welfare. So when you plan to have an event, when you plan a course, it must not be prejudicial to the welfare of the horse. So we're talking about competition arenas. What is the going like? Horses can cope with hard going. They can also cope with soft going, but you need to train them in the similar arena at home as you're going to be competing in. Horses don't cope with hard and soft in the same arena. Ground surfaces, that's part of it. Weather. So when you plan a competition and the competition arrives, you've got to be really aware that suddenly we don't know months in advance what the weather's going to be like, but suddenly you can have a heat wave, and you have to take that into consideration, obviously, for the welfare of the horse. Or it could be extreme cold.
Or flooding, like the Cape is having.
Yeah. So weather's important. Stabling. What are the stables like at events? And also
it's quite a big umbrella.
It's huge. Then there's the humane treatment of horses. Veterinary treatment. Veterinary treatment should be sought timelessly. It's important that at any of these FEI shows, we have to nominate a referral centre. So if there's an injury and the horse has to be rushed for surgery, we have a referral centre that has been notified we can send them to. Competition injuries, the FEI maintain a record of all these competition injuries because...
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, also surface type, so they can try and learn something from it.
So it's actually data capturing. That's
Yes.
really, that's great. Makes the sport better in the long run.
Euthanasia, obviously humane euthanasia. And what do you do when your horses retire? You know, they've served you through
That's
the competition life, and now what happens to them when they retire?
That's actually really wonderful to see that that's a discussion that's being brought up,
Yeah.
and we're tracking it. And it's, you know, I think shining a light on these things just makes everyone behave perhaps a little more ethically.
I think so, and I think some of it at some levels I think is ignorant, and some of it at other levels I think is this will to succeed without thinking in terms of your horse. And then the FEI also label education has been very important in welfare, because when you educate people, then they understand the reasons behind certain regulations.
We've discussed the variance in like the body condition score of horses, and what's acceptable for one breed or discipline would not be acceptable for the other, and why is that? I think that's a great point.